The Carolina Hurricanes on Tuesday night got shut up for the first time this season. If there were any takeaways that were positive, very limited. All I could say is they're definitely feeling the blues on this Wednesday.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Now part of the number one podcast network. I'm your host, Zach Martin. I'm the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Hours, also the co-host of the Searchcast, which is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. On today's show, we're going to, recap what happened on Tuesday night in the Hurricanes 3-0 loss to the St. Louis Blues. Get to hear from Captain Jordan Staal after the game, along with Rod Brind'Amour. But before we jump into all that, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The wild card round is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. Now, on Tuesday night, the Hurricanes finish up the second half of a back-to-back against the St. Louis Blues for their first meeting of the season. And if anyone remembers the preview episode, I'm like, this is a game the Hurricanes should probably win because they had special teams and 5-on-5 advantages for the fact that the Blues score less than 2.5 goals a game and give up over 3 goals a game. And in the end, Joel Hofer picks up his 4th shutout of the season, and the Hurricanes don't score a goal. Shot 9-7 for the Hurricanes, then was 14-11 for the Blues in the second, 13-10 for the Hurricanes in the third. Basically coming out to 33 shots for the Hurricanes and 31 for St. Louis. Special teams, St. Louis got 1 goal on their 3 chances. Did score shorthanded as well because of Nick Bjugstad. And that was it. All 3 goals came in the second period. Nick Bjugstad on the shorty, Dalibor Dvorsky, and then Jimmy Snuggard with the power play goal. And this was a game where what can you really say about it? Because of the fact that the Blues had 19 block shots, 26 hits, score on the shorthand and the power play, like the Hurricanes did against Detroit. Defensive breakdowns on Nick Bjugstad shorty, which was basically a transition goal. Dvorsky was basically, he top shelved it on, Brendan Buss, and then Jimmy Snuggard, or Dvorsky was on the doorstep, basically on an off, chance, and then Snuggard hits it top corner. Honestly, 3 goals, even for the game that Freddie was in against Detroit, I wouldn't put any of those goals against Freddie. I wouldn't put any of these goals against Brandon Bussey. Both goalies in the last 2 games got absolutely left to dry. Bad transition game, bad defensive breakdowns. Gotta give the Blues credit on Wednesday night or Tuesday night. They hit some upper 90 shots that I think a lot of goalies would have a hard time getting because they were perfectly placed. So give them credit for that. But I wouldn't put any of those goals on Brandon Bussey like I wouldn't do it against Freddie for the game in Detroit. It was just well-timed shots, well-placed, and just defensively the breakdowns were there. And this was just a game where, thankfully, I listened to the radio side with Mike and Walt because from what I've seen in the bits and pieces that I heard, very Blues-heavy broadcast because, of course, it had to be a second night in the row where the Hurricanes had to be part of some honorary stuff. So this was the Blues Hall of Fame game. So they had to deal with all that. And, of course, TJ Oshie was there. Nothing against Yoshi, Blues legend in his own right. So it was very Blues-eccentric on the broadcast, which a lot of people were not happy with, which I'm not really surprised. That's just how it is when the Hurricanes are on national and they don't get very much attention talked about them. But overall, this was a game where you saw the transition break down. You saw bad defensive plays. It was just, they had some shots on Hofer. There's a couple opportunities they could have scored, but in reality, it was just 33 shots. But it was how many of them were quality. That was the main thing. Like at one point, the Blues were I think it was 10-0 in high quality chances. It just seems like the Hurricanes were putting a lot of shots right on Hofer. Straight cooking him. He did have a shot that was point blank, but Hofer, robbed him on a glove save. And then towards the end, Jordan Martinook almost scored, but somehow Justin Falk at the last second tipped his stick, prevented that from going in. So really it was just getting goalied, deflections at the right time for the Blues, the block shots, and for the Hurricanes, it was just defensive breakdowns, getting killed on the transition play, and you let a team that was scoring less than 2.5 goals a game dead last in goals scored in the NHL, put up 3 against you, and they couldn't put anything against Hofer, and Hofer is got 4 shutouts. He's the only one that has shutouts for the Blues this season. Jordan Binnington doesn't have any, but now Joel Hofer has 4, and it's just a game, unfortunately, where on the second half of a back-to-back, you had the devastating loss the night before against the Red Wings, and we'll hear from Jordan Staal after the game, but you could definitely tell this team was playing a little flat, wasn't a spark, and unfortunately now it's, are we kind of seeing the creeping effect of if it goes sideways, it lingers. It's not just you what happened the game before, you move on from it. It's now just a compounding issue that, a lot of people are wondering why Jacob Slavin was out. Well, it's due to injury protocol. They don't want to, he just came back. They don't want to throw him in a back-to-back and stuff like that. So they're still trying to ease him in. Even then, it's one of those things where you finally saw Rod jumble the lines up. But at that point, it was almost too late. You're well into the third period. You still haven't scored a goal yet. So it wasn't like you're going to get the magic again that you did against the Red Wings, and it was just a game that compounded on, hey, 0-0 after 1, you're in it. Then it's just goal after goal after goal for the Blues, 2 on the special teams, Shorty in the power play, and then in the third, it was just, you had 13 shots, but how quality were the shots? That was the big thing, and now you're looking at a game where you got shut out for the first time this season. In a back-to-back, you got outscored 7-3. In back-to-back in over those 2 games. Now, you got Wednesday and Thursday off. Then it's another set of a back-to-backs against Florida and New Jersey on Friday and Saturday. Great scheduling by the NHL to schedule 2 sets of back-to-backs in the same week, where it's Monday, Tuesday, and then it's Friday, Saturday. And then you have a 1:30 game next Monday against the Sabres. So for 3 games in 4 days, which is just you got to love it, but any positives from this game? I wouldn't really say there is any. What real positive can you say for a fact that you got shut out, you got out hit by 12, you got 19 year shots blocked, you only had 8. I mean, it's just one of those things where it's just, Aho with an unnecessary penalty for interference that, didn't really help you in the second. And then Mike Riley gets a, dog poke, delay of game with the puck over the glass. It really didn't do anything. It really did nothing to help you out. I mean, even if you look at the box score, I mean, there's no points for any of these guys because obviously no one scored. But, Logan Stankoven -2, Nikolai Ehlers -1, Blake and Hall all -2s. That's the crazy, because that's just the crazy part. It was essentially one of your guys on the top line and your whole entire second line got scored on. That was it. Shots. I mean, Aho had 3, Jordan Staal had 2, Ehlers and Svetch had 2, Eric Robinson had 2. Defensively, minuses: Ghost, Chatty, and Nikishin. And then Shane Gosper, 5 shots. Keandre Miller, 4 shots. Somehow, I don't know how Alexander Nikishin didn't have a shot in the game, but it is what it is. Oh, and Sean Walker had 3. I feel bad for Brandon Bussi because even with letting in 3 goals, he still had a .903 save percentage. And you can't blame any 3 of the goals on him because it was just bad defensive breakdowns to basically let Dvorsky go doorstep with no one around him. And then it's just the transition game where you gave, Snuggard, and you also, gave the first goal up too on that opportunity to Bukestad. And that was it. 31 shots, and there you go. And it is what it is. It's an unfortunate game. Like I said, you can't blame Brandon Bussey for it, but overall, it's just a lackluster game from the Hurricanes. And you know what? Jordan Staal said something to that effect following the game, so stick around. We'll listen and react to that in a second on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. New year, new systems. This is a time when a lot of us look at messier parts of how we run our businesses and think there has to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo. Spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with the customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. It works right from your phone or computer, and you keep your existing number. It's no surprise Quo is the number one rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solo operations to growing teams. Make this year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/lockedonAHL. That's quo.com/lockedonAHL. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers. Thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen today, and thank you for making Locked On the number one sports podcast network. If you haven't already, go check out our new Everydayer Club. Access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Hurricanes compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and every other major podcast app. It's an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayer Club Discord server, which includes a group chat just for listeners of Locked On Hurricanes and all their shows within the network. So tap the link in the show notes or the description below to learn more and sign up today. Now, welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So, following the loss, Captain Jordan still has some comments following the loss, and I found some of them pretty interesting of how this team looked at and reflecting on this loss. So, without further ado, we're gonna listen and react to it right now.
Obviously not great. No, I think we were hoping for an easy one, really. It just seemed like we were kind of hoping for an outscoring them. We're going to get a few chances. We'll give them a couple and we'll see what happens kind of game. And weren't really ready to kind of just play that forechecking game, play the stress game that we've been talking about. And, and it looks like that. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of spark from anyone throughout the lineup. So it wasn't pretty.
Last night at the end of 40 minutes, you had a similar message. You had said we're looking for a spark, we're looking for some jump. You guys got it last night. What made it difficult to get to tonight?
Yeah, I said also it's not easy to come back after the 3 goals deficit in this league, and it happened the other night, but you can't put yourself in that hole and consistently, and we got to do a better job with our starts and investing in how we do things and how we play the game to kind of tilt it to our favor. And it's all fun and games when you're down, you're trying to make plays, and they're sitting back maybe a little bit, you get some chances, but for the most part we didn't play good enough to win that game. What needed to be different in special teams? Yeah, the power play was no good. The PK, we had a pretty good chance going one way and gave up one on the other. Other than that, that was pretty solid. But power play didn't really generate a ton. Wasn't a whole lot of. There was a lot of one and dones. I think it was one shot and then they get it down. One shot, they get it down, and we had a tough time getting it back in their end as well. So it was. There wasn't enough steady pressure and good shots and retrievals and do it all over again. Kind of stuff at the power play, and everything was just a wash.
Big thank you to Jordan Staal and the Carolina Hurricanes. And I think the one thing that I really took away from this interaction was Jordan Staal said right from the top, we were looking for an easy one. For anyone who's listened to me talk on the show for almost 2 years now, because it'll be 2 years this April, you guys have heard me say this time and time again. This is not your grandfather's NHL. This isn't even my dad's NHL of like the late of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Basically before the new rules set in after the 2004 lockout. There are no easy games left. There are no bad enough teams where it's an automatic. I would say even the last 5 years, this narrative has changed. There are no easy games. No team is that bad to where you're just automatically ripping points off every time you face them. Every team has talent. Even the Sharks who haven't finished great the last couple of years, guess what? Celebrini, Smith, they got guys on that roster. Like, the Blackhawks have guys. The Predators have players. Every team in this league has star players on their roster. The parity especially in this season, the parity in the NHL is unreal. Every team in the Eastern Conference is over 500. We're talking like NHL 500. And the Blue Jackets also won last night too. They absolutely just dominated with a new coach. That's why, for me, it's so frustrating when you hear Jordan Staal say, oh, we're looking for an easy one. He's been here a long time, and he knows what Rod asks of this team. And even Rod Brind'Amour has said it. There are no easy games. You have to get up for every single one. You have to be ready. And once again, you hear from the captain going, oh, we were looking for an easy one. That's why there wasn't really a spark. We thought we were just going to outshoot them, and the goals would come in. No. You got to put quality shots on. You got to put the work in. Like, you can't just lackadaisical your way through a game like that. Like, yeah, the Blues are the Blues are dead last in the league in scoring, but guess what? We saw it. They have guys. Like, a lot of their young guys are still trying to learn too. Dvorsky, Snuggard. You know, they still have other guys too. Like, they have Robert Thomas. It's just Brayden Schenn. Like, they got players. And that's why it's so frustrating for me to hear that when it's like, you know what Rod asks of you, and you know that every game is not easy. Yeah, it's a marathon. You're not going to win every game. Yeah, there's going to be some games where you get goalied. I understand that. But just think, oh, we were looking for an easy one. You can't look for an easy game anymore. That's not where this league is at. This isn't the NFL or the NBA or whatever, or the MLB, where you're going to be playing a team that has no one on a roster that's worth a dang, that you might go and beat them. But guess what? The other team gets paid to win games too. You can't just expect to walk into a barn and be like, oh, well, these guys can't do anything. Even I said, on paper, the Hurricanes should win this game. It's about playing 60 minutes of hockey and controlling the tempo. Guess what? You did no tempo control, and you said, oh, we had one shot on the goal, and that was it. You had 2 shots on goal and 3 power plays. 3 power plays, 2 shots. You cannot expect to score goals on 2 shots on 3 power plays. I'm sorry. There's just no way you can do that. So that's why it's frustrating when you hear the captain of the team saying, we were looking for an easy one. There was no spark. Find a spark. Keep it for more than a game. Like, I don't understand this trying to cheat a game where you have the head coach who tells you, do not cheat the game. Because if you cheat the game is going to bite you. And guess what? The Hurricanes got bit for their first shutout loss of the season to a team, in my opinion, should have beaten. But you didn't. You got shut out on national TV on a St. Louis Blues Hall of Fame night. It's just like, come on. Like, yeah, I know the game on Monday stunk where you lost to the Red Wings like that in overtime. But you got to move on to be ready for the next one. And you weren't. And you hear those comments afterwards, cool. That's what you'd love to hear from the captain or just the team in general of like, we're looking for an easy one. There are no easy games. Stop it. There's no easy games in this league. Be ready. Yeah, it's a long season. I understand that. Yeah, people are human. They get tired. But come on. Show the effort. It's just annoying. It's annoying to hear that, especially after watching that performance and you hear easy. Looking for one. No. There are no easies. Actually play. All right, so we heard from Jordan Staal. What did Rod Brind'Amour say? Stick around and we'll listen to that here in a second on a Wednesday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. New year, big goals, and somehow every less time to cook. If you're trying to eat better but don't want to spend hours grocery shopping or meal prepping, Factor makes it easy. These are fully prepared meals designed by dietitians and crafted by chefs so you can eat well without all the work. Factor meals are made with quality, functional ingredients, lean proteins, colorful veggies, and whole foods, and healthy fats. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, and no refined seed oils. Just real food that fits your goals, whether that's eating healthier, managing calories, or getting more protein. Meals are always fresh, never frozen, and they're ready in 2 minutes. No prep, no stress. It also makes sticking to your goals so much easier because the food is already done for you. Head to factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL, 50 off, and use code LockedOnNHL 50 off to get 50% off your first Factor box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's factormeals.com/LockedOnNHL 50 off, code LockedOnNHL 50 off. Make healthy eating easy with Factor. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. All right, so we heard from Jordan Staal, but what did Rod Brind'Amour say following the game? Well, we're going to listen and react to that right now.
Rod Jordo said that he felt maybe the group was looking for an easy one tonight. Do you share that assessment?
Yeah, it was obvious. Right from the start, I knew we had no life, and you get to see how we were turning pucks over. It's not how we play, and they capitalized. They played a good team game, structured how they're supposed to, and we were trying to do other things, and it never works.
How much of that do you chalk up to it being a second game?
Yeah, this is part of being a pro, though. Like we've gone through this in other games too here this year, where we've had these stretches of 3 and 4 and travel, and kind of had the same result. It's where you have to buckle down a little more and not look the other way. We were looking for, like he hit it right on the head. We were looking for a different way to do things, and this team is not able to do that.
What was your purview on special teams tonight?
Yeah, we stunk on all that. I mean, that's part of it, not sticking to the plan and just kind of winging it at times. And obviously, the first one's short, it's just a turnover. You just can't make that play, and they capitalized. They made a good play. To me, that's kind of what started the whole thing going the other way.
Different games, but last night down 3 after 2.
Yeah, well, I felt great about the game, even when we were down 3, because we were doing it right, and we were really, I think, controlling the game. Tonight is a different story from really the whole game.
Big thank you to Rod Brind'Amour and the Carolina Hurricanes. You heard from him. You heard from the coach. You guys heard me say it in segment 2, and you heard Rod say it now. You can't do that. You can't play easy games. And Rod felt it right from the jump that this team was trying to cheat. And what did I say? You get burned trying to cheat, and they did. And that's why he's like, the turnover that led to the shorty, that kind of really started it off. Third period, he could tell right from away this game they were not coming back in it. And I don't blame him for being upset. You saw him on the broadcast, he looked upset. Like, this has become such an occurrence that you'll win a couple games, you'll feel better that, okay, maybe they turned it around, and the next thing you know, you go see this for a couple of games. Like, I don't know what it is about this season. Like, last year, yeah, we saw an up and down November, December. Guys, it was just a weird phase they were going through, but I don't know what it is about this year. I don't know if it's because of the fact that they haven't had Jacob Slavin all season, or they had all the injuries that they were dealing with, or what it is, but they are trying to cheat so much of the game now that it's mind-boggling to me how this is a reoccurring thing under Rod Brind'Amour. We've not seen it this much to where it's like, okay, yeah, there's some game, you might have a handful of games here and there throughout the season. Since that weird stretch of games against Florida, it's been happening a lot more recently where it's just looking for an easy one. Not playing the game like how you're supposed to for Rod. And Rod Brind'Amour said it. You are a professional hockey player. You have to buckle down more, and they are not doing it. They're trying to go the opposite direction and cheat. This roster is not built to cheat games. This is a roster that's built to grind teams out and put pressure on them, not play lackadaisical hockey. There's zero reason why the Blues should have gotten 31 shots on goal when you've held the Stars to less than 20. You've held the Avalanche to around 20 to 23. You've held really good teams to very limited shots, and you let the Blues put up 31 against you. And it was turnovers, defensive breakdowns, just you cheated the game, and the hockey gods made you pay for it. You can't cheat a game like this. Not in this league. Not with guys on rosters who can make you pay for it. And that's why I don't blame Rod for being upset. This has been reoccurring way too much. And I'm tired of hearing, we got to be better. We got to find the spark. You should know this. You should know this. That's the thing that's crazy to me. Leadership needs to get on this team. Now, I'm not talking about the coaches. I'm talking about captains. Get on this team. Jacob Slavin wasn't even dressed for this game. He leads by example. He knows what he's doing. Smash Out who's saying stuff in the locker room. I wonder if Jordan Staal saying something in the locker room. Seth Jarvis has to be saying in the locker room. Honestly, I'm ready for Seth Jarvis to have a letter on his sweater at this point because I feel like he's the only guy that's consistently in and out, actually showing up for games. He's probably one of the most vocal, non-letter guys on this team. I feel like that Seth Jarvis deserves a letter next season. I don't care how it plays out. Give him the A. Give him something. Captain-wise, it could be Aho. It could be Slavin. It could be Jarvis. One of those three I'd be okay with giving a C to. Jarvis needs an A at some point. Am I calling for Jordan Staal to be the captain? No. I know a lot of people are. I can't blame them. But I'm not into stripping guys of their letters before their contract runs out. Or however they want to do it. I don't know if every guy's like John Tavares, where he's like, I'll just give my C up to Austin Matthews. Not every guy's like that. I'm not saying strip him of his C before his contract's out. Because, Rod knows what it's like to get ripped of a C before your deal's even done with the team you're with. Let Jordan write his contract out. Let him run the C out and move on from there. But leadership has to figure this out and stop letting games like this happen. You shouldn't be losing to teams like this, and I'm sorry, but it's such a joke to me how you get a game like this, and you got the captain saying we were cheating, and the head coach is like, yeah, he said it perfectly. That's what this team did. They cheated. They tried to look for an easy win, and it bit them. You go and put up that on national television where, we outshot them. With what? With what quality? With what quality did you outshoot them with? You threw pucks on net and thinking the goalie was not going to stop him. Joel Hofer has shutouts for a reason. Do something. I try to come into this episode even keel, not get emotional about it, or not really emotional, but just get frustrated with it. And the thing is, it's frustrating when you hear it from the captain looking for an easy one. And you got the coach saying, yeah, they did. Right from the jump, he could tell. What the heck? Professional hockey players, you've done 3 games in 4 nights. You've done how many back-to-backs? And guess what? You got another back-to-back this weekend at home. Florida's on the rise. Jersey's struggling, but it's still New Jersey. You always have tight contests with those guys. Then guess what? Both teams have talent on those rosters. And you got another set of back-to-backs this weekend against both of them. And you got Buffalo, who's been on a run for who knows how long, on Monday. Guess what? You had a back-to-back. You got another set of back-to-backs. And the thing is, you have 3 games in 4 days. That include the back-to-back. Get ready. Season's not ending anytime soon. It's still January. Buckle in, dig deep, and do something. The whole roster is back. The whole roster is back. No one's out with injury. You got the Olympic break coming up. Not that long after, you got the trade deadline, and guess what? Then it's the sprint to the playoffs, where the schedule is even tighter. And then you got the playoffs. You made the Eastern Conference final last year. This year, who knows? Stop cheating the game. This is what happens. Figure it out. All right, guys. Sorry for that rant. It's just, it's frustrating. It's frustrating. It is what it is. But hopefully, when we talk about this show, we kind of start getting ready for the back. Hopefully, it's not as crazy. But this will be the end of the Wednesday episode of Lockdown Hurricanes. Thank you for making your first listen every day. If you've never missed an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get Locked On Hurricanes ad-free, plus the members-only Discord access and more. Head to the link in the show notes below to learn more and join today. For those of you on video, we send you to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure you make your second listen to NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL. If you want to keep up with me, I'm One Tree Zach on X. The podcast is _Hurricanes. If you want to also check me out on Blue Sky, I have a link over there as well. If you want to click on that, you'll find all my written content at thehockeyriders.com. If you want to check out my other podcasts, the Surgecast, on all podcast platforms and on YouTube for Locked On Hurricanes, Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio. Wherever you listen to your podcast, make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review. For YouTube, Locked On Hurricanes, subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss the show. Hit the thumbs up to affect the show as well. Share with other Caniacs to become everydayers just like you. But hope everyone enjoyed the Wednesday rant edition of Locked On Hurricanes during Wednesday. And until next time, as always, let's go Canes.